Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the UPMC Rooney Sports Complex on the south side of Pittsburgh. Bob Pompiani here. Missy Matthews will be here shortly, but we're getting set for the Mike Tomlin press conference. It's always on Tuesdays in most cases, unless there's a Thursday game, but we're talking about Jacksonville, which comes to town winners of 4 in a row. The Steelers have won 2 in a row, coming off a big fourth quarter in SoFi Stadium. 14 unanswered points, a lot of passing yards, big-time drives, and they pull away with a win, 24-17 to get them to 4-2. Jacksonville, on the other hand, coming off a win against New Orleans, and they've been busy. They've had 4 games in 19 days, 2 of them in London, without a bye week. So pretty impressive what they've been able to do. Of course, their offense led by the Clemson duo of Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. Etienne has been on fire with 3 multiple rushing touchdown games. And when they go, they're pretty good. They just beat New Orleans, as I said, 31-24. It's a team that has a very active defense. Josh Allen, not the one in Buffalo, but this one's making a name for himself with 7 sacks, many tackles for losses. It's a defense that also has 10 interceptions already through the first 6 games. They've also dropped a number of others. So they're active back there, and the Steelers are certainly going to have a big-time effort required on Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock. You'll see the game, by the way, on KDKA TV. And we thank all of you watching here today on KDKA Plus and Steeler digital platforms as we get set for Mike Tomlin to address the media. No major injury concerns to talk about at this point. I'm not sure if that's going to change based on what Coach Tomlin says, but it's a team that Steelers certainly put together, I thought, their best quarter of football all season long when they absolutely needed to have it after 3 quarters in L.A. 14 points, a big third, and a completion from Kenny Pickett to Deontay Johnson. And boy number 18 made an impact on his return from injury, certainly creating space for himself and others as well. The run game came alive as well with 3 rushing touchdowns. Consider they had none in the first 5 games, so that's a big step in the right direction as well. Mike Tomlin is set to address the media. Let's go upstairs and hear from Coach Mike Tomlin.
Good afternoon. Exciting week for us. Great to be back home at Acrisure Stadium this weekend versus a really good football team. Also, it's really great because we have some Hall of Honor inductees this weekend. Moon Mullins and Ray Mansfield, Steeler legends, and a couple of guys that played for me, Aaron Smith and James Harrison, man, really excited about bringing those guys into their rightful place this weekend and honoring them. I'll start first with a quick review of our last performance, like I always do. I was just really appreciative of the fight of the guys. We had some challenges, obviously, that we outlined post-game at the early stages of the game. I thought the Rams did a really nice job of throwing some things at us differently on the defensive side of the ball that they hadn't displayed, that created some issues for us. I thought they did a really nice job of manufacturing a run game with the committee of backs and doing some things there that were challenging and we had to adjust to. I thought our coaches and players did a really nice job of managing some of those required adjustments at halftime. There's always an element of concern coming off of a bye about running out of the locker room. I thought we warmed up to it a little bit. That's why we intentionally took the ball. We didn't want to give the ball to Matt Stafford, a guy like Matt Stafford, to start a game if we were warming up to it. That ended up kind of being a non-issue, really, as both teams exchanged punts, I guess, there at the early stages of it. But as the game wore on, I thought we just really settled into the type of play that we desire. I thought that we won possession downs on both sides of the ball. I thought our backs teed up those possession downs and our bigs up front on offense. We were able to get a run game established there, and obviously that is assisted by the winning of the possession downs. You don't get a chance to put together 10-play, 80-yard drives unless you're doing a little bit of both and they feed one another. On defense, man, I thought we settled down and adjusted to some of the run things that they were doing with their committee. We put ourselves in advantageous third down circumstances and we won them, although we were in some advantageous circumstances on possession downs in the first half. I think they converted 2 3rd and 11s, for example, on us in the first half. And you're never going to have the type of half that you desire to have on either side of the ball when when the opposing team is converting 3rd and 11s. Those are just the type of downs that you're supposed to win. The plays that happen after those are not supposed to happen. The time of possession that happens after those, the field positioning component, et cetera. And so that's what I mean when I'm talking post-game about how possession down play really kind of shapes a half, if you will, and the fact that we weren't winning them on either side had a reverberating effect, if you will, on other areas of play. But we got those things settled down. I thought guys did a really nice job of maintaining singular focus and some playmaking, particularly down the stretch. Can't say enough about A players making A plays, man. Guys like TJ, we're used to it, we expect it, but it still doesn't mean that we don't appreciate it. We appreciate it. Plays that we've come accustomed to seeing him make week in and week out, we're appreciative. It was a game changer, no doubt. It provided the short field that allowed us to go in the score and provided the type of momentum that I thought was a catalyst for the second half of play. So really excited about that. Again, we talked some about the return of Deontay and what he provides us in terms of tangible playmaking and probably increased opportunity for others. Specifically, GP probably gets more one-on-one opportunities when Deontay is available to us. But forget the intangible things, the tangible things, the things that we talked about in here last week, his ability to separate, and that separation allowing him to make plays. The 3rd down conversion that was a catch and run, for example, is reflective of that. That's what I was referring to last week when I talk about some of the things that he brings, his ability to create space, to make quarterback accuracy less significant, to create more opportunities for run after the catch. And run after the catch is significant because it's means of getting chunks of yards without absorbing the risk associated with trying to throw the ball over the top of people. And so those are some of the things that I thought was worthy of discussing relative to the last performance. It's good to win. Obviously, we got some things to learn from. We'll continue to do that, but we better continue to win as we do that. Specifically in terms of learning, like the penalties we discussed after the game. And I'll be really specific. I wasn't interested in doing so after the game, but I'll be really specific here in this setting. Oftentimes, it's our job to feel the tenor of a crew and adjust our behavior accordingly. And we got into that game, man, and that crew had a certain tenor, and we didn't adjust to it. And as professionals, that's our job. And so am I worried about those issues being an issue moving forward? No, I'm not. But it is a great opportunity to talk about learning the tenor of a crew. Sometimes certain crews are more tolerant regarding certain things than others, and that's just, the realities of the National Football League. TJ, for example, got a penalty for lining up in the neutral zone at a significant time in the second half of that game. It was a 3rd down possession down that we won. A lot of crews will warn you when someone's lined up in the neutral zone or cutting it close from that perspective. Some don't. It's our job to get a sense of how the game is being played that day. From a holding perspective, from a DPI perspective, there are a lot of things that you could discuss regarding having a feel for the tenor of a crew. The worst thing that we did in that game is we didn't have a sense of that tenor, and we didn't adjust. Najee had a confrontation post-snap early in the game where he was jawing back and forth with a member of their defense, and that crew expressed their tenor at that time. And as a collective, man, we didn't do a good enough job. I didn't do a good enough job as a leader making sure that we adjusted. And so that's why some of the penalties were as they were. But it's a good lesson for us moving forward. And as I mentioned, it's good to learn lessons as you win. That better be the case more times than not, particularly as we push through this stage of it and work to find the type of consistency that makes you a consideration among the elite discussions, much like Jacksonville has done in terms of winning their last 4 games. And with that, I'll transition to those guys. First, from an injury perspective, Cole Holcomb got injured in game, was able to go back in game, has got an ankle that requires some some attention. We'll see how his availability is affected at the early portions of the week, and then also the quality of his play, and let that be our guide. Obviously, we're continuing to take a look at Anthony McFarland. He's in his 21-day window to return to action. We'll continue to look at him, and those kind of probably the injury things worth noting. Now on to Jacksonville. As I mentioned, they're a group, man, that's a winner of 4 straight. Got a lot of respect for that. They got a lot of talent. They got really good, sound schematics, and so I'll start with their defense. First, man, we got to do a really good job of managing their bigs. They've invested a lot in their bigs. They got former first-rounders and first overall picks in that group. The edge guys really capture your attention. Josh Allen and Walker, in particular, as a tandem, wreak a lot of havoc. I think Josh Allen's got 7 sacks. I think oftentimes sacks don't represent the havoc that Walker causes. I felt that way in an analysis of him leading up to the draft. He's just the type of guy that wrecks a lot of things. He plays with a violent style of play. He's a wrecking ball, and so we just got to be really cognizant of their group and the wave that they provide, the challenges that come with managing their front. They do a really good job schematically of challenging you in terms of putting a lot of guys along the front. They got a 3-4 structure, but, boy, those are some big outside linebackers. It's almost like they're doing it with 4-3 people, and it really creates challenges regarding creating space and moving them for running lanes, for example. Just really challenging in that regard. At the second level, man, I can't say enough about their linebacker tandem. They've invested a lot in free agency in the draft, and those 2 guys. We've seen some formidable linebacker tandems this year. Warner and Greenlow and San Fran, the Baltimore tandem, for example. This is a similar like group. Volume tackling, blitzing, coverage, splash playmaking, you name it, 23 and 33 kind of provides it for this group. But again, man, they've been invested in that way. High-end free agency acquisition, former first-round pick. I'm not surprised to see what I see in terms of the way that those 2 are impacting the game, and some of the things that they're doing schematically to highlight them is also very evident. Got a lot of respect for their veteran safety tandem, Cisco and Jenkins. Both guys have been together and played a lot. You see that continuity played out in the form of how they communicate and the splash plays they make. Their secondary has done an awesome job of taking away the football. Fumble recoveries and calls fumbles to go along with the interceptions. They're a very ball-aware group, and I think it really tees up the turnover ratio, which is a really big component of why they've been really successful, particularly of late in this last 4-game stretch. On the offensive side of the ball, man, it's about those 2 guys in the backfield that have kind of been together for a long time, probably since they were about 18. Talking about Trevor Lawrence, man, and Etienne. Man, they're a challenging group. Etienne, obviously, with his explosive run ability, his ability to hit the gas, particularly on the perimeter, and get yards in chunks. And Trevor's not only his arms, but his legs and the ways that they utilize the talents of both. In the running game, in the passing game, play action, misdirection, etc. Trevor's also good in the drop-back game. They're capable of spreading you out, emptying the backfield and challenging you that way. He makes good and timely decisions and does a nice job of taking care of the ball. As I mentioned when I was talking about the defense, the turnover ratio is a component of the engineering of victory for them, and so it takes both sides. Man, Trevor's got some dangerous eligibles to throw to. Calvin Ridley is a new acquisition, man, that's proven to be a solid acquisition for them. Christian Kirk is a big-time player. At tight end, Evan is a problem. They just got a nice, well-rounded group. Agnew as a kick returner / wide receiver gadget man. They do a really nice job of dividing up the labor, making you defend a lot of eligibles. Trevor is at the controls of all of it. He does a really nice job. Etienne is problematic as well, as I mentioned. And so there's a lot that has our attention this week. They're a group that's really intentional about being aggressive from a gadget perspective, whether it's offense, double passes, reverses, or the special teams. Heath Farwell, their special teams coordinator, I've known for a long time. He played for us in Minnesota when I was with the Vikings. Sharp football guy, aggressive in mindset, lover of special teams. And so, man, there's a lot that has our attention. There's a lot to be excited about, man. It's good to be in big games versus good people as we work to find the type of traction that's going to be required for us to be included in that discussion. We roll up our sleeves and go to work and carry that urgency and excitement and preparation so that it can be borne out in play. I'll pause and open it up for questions.
Hey, Mike, when you were talking about the penalties, why was the penalty against DJ not a dead ball?
I asked that, but in the midst of all the discussions and ongoing things, they never got back to me to explain the reasons why. One guy said it was considered a continual act, but I never had a conversation with the White Hat specifically regarding it.
And you mentioned the Najee early in the game. Was that like an official came over and said, "Hey, any more of this, we're going to throw a flag," or what did you mean by?
I'm not going to get into the details of our discussions, but there was enough of a discussion there at the early stages of the game that I knew the tenor of the group.
Mike, how do you or can you quantify the difference with Kenny in the first half to the second? Is it a slow start? Is it comfort? Is it adjustments? Anything in particular?
I'm sure it's a lot of things, and we're going to continually work for more fluid and productive starts. But it's a component of it that's not new, and that's his ability to rise up in moments. We valued that in the draft process. It was one of the things that made him attractive to us. We've talked about it a lot in this setting. I've watched him do it when he was a Pitt Panther, and so I don't know that any of us are surprised by his ability to make the plays that he makes when it really gets thick. I just think some people are built like that. Some people relish the opportunity. Some people really smile in the face of adversity. Some people are competition junkies, and I think he's all of those things. But that's not something that we're just discovering, as I mentioned. It's something that we knew even prior to him being a Pittsburgh Steeler.
There's a bit of a follow-up to that. We've gotten the question quite a bit from fans a lot about, do you script plays and to what degree are you scripting them in the first half? And what are you looking for on the script? Is it always to hit a home run and get as many yards and points as possible, or is it something you sit and learn about with the defense?
We do script. We're not completely married to the script because some things are sight unseen, like some of the third down things that the Rams defense was doing in the first half, for example. So there is a script. We're not completely married to it. And no, it's not always trying to hit a home run. Sometimes it's information gathering. Sometimes it's personnel exchanges to see how they match personnel or logistically how they deal with personnel exchanges. Who's matching up with who? What are good matchups? What are they doing versus certain approaches to football? And so there are many agendas that you're trying to get done at the early stages of the game from a scripting perspective.
Because those early drives haven't produced a lot of points, have you guys considered changing the way that you script things to start out?
No, because sometimes it's just we gotta do what we're doing better. We had a third down that we had a matchup that we certainly wanted. We had George Pickens on Witherspoon, and we threw the ball out of bounds, for example. GP caught it, but it was out of bounds. Had we connected that and ran in and scored, you and I might not be having this discussion. So no, it does not require a change of agenda or anything. Maybe just keep the ball in bounds, for example. Or maybe on the second play of the game, we missed a pickup, and Kenny got sacked, and I think it was 2nd and 2, and it produced a 3rd and long. If we handle a routine pickup, it doesn't require any changes. We just need to do routine things routinely at the early stages of games. And those are just 2 examples of why I'm resistant to the discussion. I'm not going to comb through it with a fine-tooth comb for you and talk about the reasons why we do what it is that we do. But rest assured, we're thorough in our process and our approach. And when it's time to change, or if it's time to change, we're not resistant to it. But we're also got a certain level of commitment to work and improvement through work as well. individually and collectively.
Like you mentioned, the plus-minus stuff. Your team is good at that. How do you consider like missed field goals or fourth down situations that you either convert or hold them from converting?
I don't acknowledge them because they're not acknowledged statistically, but we all know how significant they are. A fourth down stop is a turnover on downs, for example. And you can say similar things about a long field goal when you don't punt it and put people on a short field. But we don't overanalyze those things. We acknowledge that they're significant. When we're talking about the turnover ratio, we're talking about getting the football as a defense and maintaining possession of it as an offense.
Mike, the tight ends weren't especially involved last week. How much of that was because of the lateness in the week of Pat Frymouth's aggravation of his injury, and how much of that was just a game plan specific thing?
It could be a myriad of things. It could be any of the two things that you mentioned, or it could have been what the LA Rams were doing relative from a game planning perspective. I know we were excited about having Deontay back, so I make no excuse for their lack of inclusion. We're doing what's required to win football games.
Need them to be involved more going forward?
Let me put the plan together this week and ask me at the end of the week, and I probably won't tell you, but it's week to week for us. It's week to week for everyone. In 2023, man, it is a matchup and situational game. It is. And so those variables are subject to change week to week.
Mike, what was the impact of having Dan Moore back? What do you think of the way he's played for you this year?
I thought he was really solid. Man, not only his play, but his demeanor. He brings a grown man approach to it. Thought he was really good.
It looked like that there wasn't any debate. If he was healthy, he was playing last week. You were sort of...
I wouldn't peel back the curtains for you if there was a debate.
Mike, we always ask you about identity of the team. We normally talk offense, defense, running. But can the identity of a team be just that you're a gritty team?
You've been listening to me and Labs talk, haven't you? Yes, you are. I think in 2023, when you're talking about team identity, you're talking more intangible quality things. Grit, a mindset, the approach in which you take the circumstances. Are you a calculated risk-taking group? Are you a fundamentalist group? Are you a small menu group? Those are the things that really kind of comprise identity today. If you start talking about we're a running group, then people are going to show up in goal line defense and open field on you. And so it doesn't behoove you to marry yourself to an identity. All it does is make the sledding more difficult in 2023. There's so much specialization in today's game. It just is. The utilization of people in very specific places on offense and defense. It makes it a matchup game. It makes it a situational game. You can have an agenda in which you desire, but there are things that people can do to push you off that agenda regardless of what your intentions are in 2023. If people play open grass goal line, then chances are you're going to have a difficult time running the football, for example. And that's what the Rams were willing to do, for example. When they went nickel 5-1 versus 3 wide receiver sets, they were saying by virtue of the people that we have on the field, your run game is going to be difficult today if you choose to do so. And so from time to time, you're going to choose to fight that fight. Sometimes you're not. Those are just strategic components of today's game, and that's why it makes declaration of identity a stupid endeavor at this juncture.
Like when you two things in the Puka Nakua challenge, were you challenging specifically that toe heel natural step rule that's in the books, and were you kind of having to go on gut, or were you getting word from up above on
I
that?
didn't like the pace in which they were rushing the ball, and we weren't getting information quickly enough. It was close enough to run the risk of challenging at that juncture. I was standing on the sideline. I saw how close it was to the white. I wasn't sure whether he was in or not. The pace of it and the lack of information, it was just worthy because it was a field-flipping chunk play at that juncture.
So do you have to tell the refs at that point, I'm challenging this aspect?
It doesn't matter what you say. All components of the play are reviewable once you challenge. And so what is said, even though I may try to direct them and provide them information in terms of what I want them to look for, you don't have to say anything because once you challenge a play, all components of the play are under review.
Mike, obviously they were a little late on that replay. what you're talking about. Would you like to have a rule that says you have to?
I don't care, guys. I really don't. If it's challenging for me, it's challenging for others. If it's challenging for me on the road, then it's going to be challenging for the Rams the next time they're on the road, et cetera. Things generally play themselves out in the National Football League from a competitive fairness standpoint.
Mike, how did you feel about the flow of play your secondary, especially with Patrick Peterson moving around a lot in your defense this week?
That's why we brought Pat here. Pat's a veteran player. He's smart. If you remember, we moved Cam Sutton around a lot. Essentially, he is Cam Sutton. And so position flexibility was an attractive component to the acquisition of him.
Mike, what have you seen from Trevor Lawrence that maybe is different than the average quarterback progression? He's had such a steep climb from where he started to where he is.
You know, I hadn't watched a lot of pre-2023 tape, to be quite honest with you. And so I probably am not positioned to speak to that evolution that you speak of. But I see a guy that has first overall type talent. He can make any throw on the field, both from an arm strength and touch perspective. He has unique mobility in terms of his athleticism. And I think that talent set makes him a extreme challenge. And I would imagine with experience, because of that talent set, he's going to be increasingly more difficult to deal with.
Like you talked about the resolve you saw from Kenny, but as a team, what is it about the fourth quarter that kind of makes them stand up and makes them tick?
We're not scared. We play to win. We don't play not to lose.
You've done it a lot, of course, but when you have an upcoming Thursday game, is this week any different than any other Sunday game week? Or
I can't see past this week. I don't know what you're talking about.
Mike, you opened this up talking about guys going into the Hall of Honor this weekend. James Harrison, one of those guys. What characteristics does he and TJ Watt maybe share that make them both such, great?
Share? Man, it'd be easier to talk about their differences. I'll tell you this. Similar in approach in terms of commitment. If you know either guy, what they're willing to do in preparation to tee up a performance, not only in the course of a game week, but I'm talking about over a course of a 12-month calendar, over the course of their careers, is unique. You don't get unique results by doing regular processes. Those two dudes have a commitment to preparation and the development of their games and the maintenance of their bodies and the preparation of their bodies that is unique.
Mike, I'm sure you've seen a lot of them. Was his interception in the Super Bowl the greatest play you've ever seen?
Oh, man, it's up there. It's up there. There's a couple great plays in that game. Tone in the back corner,
Anyone else? Mike, how is Cam Hayward progressing, and do you have any?
No updates there.
Mike, and as far as the run game and you guys building momentum, did you feel like you guys found more things that you could find to win up front to give you guys the space in the backfield to work with?
Sometimes it's just winning enough on the perimeter to get the type of schematics up front that allows it to happen. As I mentioned, there was a commitment early on from the Rams schematically to minimize the running game. And the more plays we made in the passing game, the more opportunities were born in the run game.
Have you guys worked with the players to add more wrinkles as the season has gone on, to more identify with things that they're seeing on the field as far as their perspective as well?
Continually.
What's Connor Hayward showing you? He got a lot more opportunity. Obviously, Pat's out, but just specifically him as opposed to maybe some of the other guys.
You said it. Pat's out.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks, guys.
All right, that's head coach Mike Tomlin. We welcome in Missy Matthews, and always interesting to get her intake on what we're talking about here in the game that just happened, the game that is coming up. And I thought one of the more interesting short sound bites that he had there, talking about their fourth quarter success and how they win these one-score games. We're not scared. We play to win, not to lose. They were losing heading into the fourth quarter. And, man, it seems like recently they've been able to switch to a different gear, especially Kenny Pickett and what he was able to do in that fourth quarter. I thought that was his best fourth quarter since he became a Pittsburgh Steeler.
Yeah, we saw them do it against the Ravens prior to their bye week, down by at least 7 points, coming back in the fourth, did it again in LA. And Patrick Peterson said in the locker room after the win that at halftime, Coach Tomlin said, A players get out there, we need A plays, A+ plays. And right off the bat, first play of the second half, TJ Watt with the interception that gave the offense the ball back and they had a chance to score. And then just to see them get into the red zone and capitalize on being there, that was also encouraging as well.
Those two big plays right there, the interception, dropping back into coverage, which he doesn't know a lot of, but when he's there, he's pretty instinctive. He was, a tight end, a guy who has pretty good hands, made a big interception. A lot of guys would not have made that play. They would have dropped it probably. But not only that, he was looking to return it for a score, but because he was short, people wonder, okay, can they finally get a rushing touchdown? Because they hadn't had one all year, and that was significant that they did.
Yeah, I think so for sure. And I think, TJ's already had a taste of the end zone this year. He probably wanted to go back, which wouldn't have been a bad thing. But like you said, the offense being able to punch it in and to have 3 rushing touchdowns in one game after having none of them all season. I think especially, Kenny getting it in, great, but for the running backs to do it, I think that was important as well.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin also really stresses conditioning, and you see that happening in the fourth quarter of games too, especially when you got to make a trip to a different time zone, and they were fresh in the fourth quarter, and they seemed to, when you get a 10-play, 80-yard drive, that does take a little bit out of the opposing defense, and they ended up basically dominating every statistical category in that fourth quarter.
Well, and I think, when you get to go into the victory formation, it might have been a little dicey to get to that point. That's a good sign as well.
Yeah, it really is. All right, we have plenty more to talk about. We'll take a look back at some of the best comments today by head coach Mike Tomlin. It's all when we continue right here live on KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms. It's a Tomlin Tuesday.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
Wait, guys. DJ, did you drop the ball in the first half, or was that the first time you dropped on that penny?
I'm not sure. I dropped a couple times that game, so I don't know how many in the first half, how many in the second half.
What did you see that allowed you to make that interception?
Just eyes on the quarterback, able to see him kind of work his way back to my side of the field, and was able to just jump in front and make a play on the ball.
What did you say to Nick when you got this first half?
I was happy for him, really happy for him. Like you said, like you guys have all seen the amount of work that he puts in pre-practice, the great preseason that he's had. I know it sucks for those guys to not get as many pass rush reps as they want, and they've been so great about it, him and MG. And we know how productive they can be, but Alex and I always want to be out there in those pass rush situations. So they just make the most out of every single snap they get. They don't complain, and that's why I'm just so happy that those guys, when they make those plays, because I know how hard they work and how bad they want it.
TJ, not a lot was going right on the offensive side the first 3 quarters. You guys were certainly challenged. How do you account for the hang-in-there mindset?
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4-quarter game. We understand as a defense we need to bow up in big-time moments and just try to change the tide of the game. And stopping the run is, again, an issue today. But anytime you can get some sort of spark to get us going and be able to have us start continuing to play good football late in games, I feel like we just need to continue to progress and grow off of it.
Where do you feel like the team is overall at 4-2? How close are you to maxing out?
Hopefully a far way away. I mean, it's only 4-2. It's only 6 games in, so hopefully we have a lot to grow.
I think the team was, for the season start, a little bit underrated. What do you think is possible with this team?
I mean, I don't know, and that's to be determined, honestly. We just want to take it one day at a time, one game at a time. Coming off of the bye, we understood how important it was.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
I'm not going to comb through it with a fine-tooth comb for you and talk about the reasons why we do what it is that we do, but rest assured, we're thorough in our process and our approach, and when it's time to change, or if it's time to change, we're not resistant to it. but we also got a certain level of commitment to work and improvement through work as well, individually and collectively.
I think that's an interesting thing. A lot of people debate what goes on in terms of scripting plays. I think it's generally assumed that everybody comes out with 15 plays and they stick to those plays. And Mike Tomlin said it there that they're not married to that. If you look at what happened this past week, for example, they took the ball, which was a little bit of surprise, but he explained why. Right off the bat, they get Najee Harris up the middle for 8 yards. It's a good passing down, 2nd and 2. They pass, and there's a sack involved by Michael Hoyt, who gets Pickett, and then a blitz on 3rd down. So all of that is kind of gone. So you have to adjust as you go, I suppose.
Yeah, he also, was describing how sometimes it's information gathering. What personnel are they lining up, maybe on George Pickens or Deontay Johnson, to see what can work for the rest of the game. But it was not how they wanted to start. Talked about playing fast and starting fast heading into this game, but off the bye, coach felt like the team was really warming up to it, which is not something you want. But they did improve to 13-4 after their bye week under Coach Tomlin. I think for the offense, when you punt 4 times and only get a field goal in the first half, you have a lot of work to do in the second. But luckily, as we were just talking about previously with TJ Watt getting that interception, it really was that spark, that splash play, whatever you want to call it, and it got the whole team on a roll.
There's no question about that. But the first half, again, you can see the Rams were pretty active there and disrupting a lot of what the Steelers were trying to do. But as the game went on, and this, by the way, this play here, it made me think when Najee hurdles.
Oh, yes.
You see that rule, which I hate, where the ball goes into the end zone. It's a touchback for the other team. I hope they change that rule. I don't know about you, but I do not like that rule.
That's one that everybody likes to talk about when it happens, and I'm sure, heading into the offseason and competition committee meetings, it'll be brought up again as well.
Yeah, but then they got things going, as you see. Dan Moore did a very good job. So did Isaac Seumalo on that touchdown. Isaac Seumalo had his hands full with Aaron Donald most of the day, and I think his grade will probably reflect that. But on that particular run, he was taking out 2 guys en route to the end zone for Jaylen Warren.
When I think, going in, Coach Tomlin talked about Aaron Donald and what he presents, the challenge. You have to have 2 guys on him. You have to know where he is at all times. And the Steelers did a decent job of not letting him wreck the game, didn't even register a sack. So that was good. But that does, as you said, eats up personnel in terms of blocking for Kenny Pickett. And luckily, they really started to gel more in the second half, specifically in the 4th quarter. And we were able to see things like this happen.
Yeah, all those plays you see right there, all those crisp passing plays over the middle, which is something we haven't seen all that much of. But when you get guys who run good routes, like Deontay Johnson, George Pickens, get them in the middle, they create some space there. So that 4th quarter was terrific, as Pickett was 9 for his last 9 for like 140 yards. The whole quarter produced 180 yards. So what is it about him in the 4th quarter? Mike Tomlin had to address that question today.
I'm sure it's a lot of things, and we're going to continually work for more fluid and productive starts. But it's a component of it that's not new, and that's his ability to rise up in moments. We valued that in the draft process. It was one of the things that made him attractive to us. We've talked about it a lot in this setting. I've watched him do it when he was a Pitt Panther, and so I don't know that any of us are surprised by his ability to make the plays that he makes when it really gets thick. I just think some people are built like that. Some people relish the opportunity. Some people really smile in the face of adversity. Some people are competition junkies, and I think he's all of those things.
Competition junkies kind of reminds me of Dallas Goedert of the Eagles. He's that way too, very competitive driven.
Big weekend for him.
Big weekend for him. He stepped up when he had to, and so Kenny Pickett did the same. So what is the difference, do you think? The first half, if you break down the numbers, you're going to see a very pedestrian passer rating of like 56, but in the second half, it pushes 100. So there's certainly something going on there.
Well, I think it's, they talk about that it factor that he has. This was his 5th 4th quarter comeback of, 17, 18 games that he's played as the Steelers starter. I think, going back to what Coach Tomlin was saying earlier in his press conference, you have the script, things that you think are going to go well, but the ball to George Pickens is caught out of bounds. Things just start to snowball and pile up. And for whatever reason, it's not just on Kenny, it's the whole offense as well. And like you said, the sacks getting to him. So there was a lot of things not going right collectively.
Yeah, but when they got it going, Deontay Johnson's return made a big difference there. You see, he could just beat guys one-on-one over the middle, turn it on. This was one of the big plays of the game. He gets to the outside. It was the 3rd and 8 play that really allowed that first drive in the 4th quarter to get going. And then they just, took advantage. I think the Rams were, back on their heels a little bit too much. And that's a team normally that when they're at their best, they're coming after you, and they couldn't.
Well, I think, too, having Deontay back, like you said, with George Pickens, you kind of had to pick your poison in terms of those guys because Kenny just kept feeding them, which made sense. And the Steelers slowly, the numbers weren't, outstanding in terms of the run game, but being able to have Najee and Jalen hit the ground running was good as well.
Yeah, a lot of good coming out of that fourth quarter. Can they just keep it going into the first quarter, coming up against a very good Jacksonville team? We'll talk a little bit about them as we move forward. The Steelers at 4-2, Jacksonville 5-2. They've been very busy. We'll get into the Jags and what lies ahead coming up right here on this special edition of the Mike Tomlin Press Conference every Tuesday at noon.
This crowd is alive. Wow. This has got to be a moment to be shared with everybody. Great catch. Another magic moment. And this crowd's in a frenzy.
These last weeks had to drive you crazy. Watching?
A lot. The last 4 weeks was tough. But it happens, It's just how you come out of it in the end. I came out with the right mindset and attacked the rehab and stuff like that. And I thank the trainers for, just keeping my head level through the whole process. And, I'm back. So like I said, I'm looking forward to next week.
You guys had a nice couple drives offensively in the fourth quarter. How much did your presence just help kind of get things going and find an identity or rhythm out there?
It's big. Like I said, it gives us Kenny another weapon out there. Let's get to show like I can get open on almost any play. That's my special ability, getting open, route running, and that's what Kenny needs out there. And everybody did their job today. Me, George, AR, everybody. So got to give props to the whole offense, not just me. Like I said, but me being able to run around stuff like that brings a lot of upside to our offense.
Deontay, we see this from Pickett all year. He's doesn't get a lot done for 3 quarters, and then in the fourth quarter is outstanding. What do you see from him in the fourth quarter?
It's football. Some games we ain't gonna start fast. He's not gonna be perfect. That's anybody out there. All we can do is just keep playing in those moments, and something gonna happen eventually. So, and that's what happened. We was, driving the ball, couldn't get no plays, big plays that we wanted. First 3 quarters or whatnot. We still making plays though during those 3 quarters. Like I said, it all came down to those weighty moments and who wanted the most. And we showed it that we wanted the most on offense.
What happened on the tonic penalty?
Oh, it's just something I got to avoid. A little too excited in the moment. I didn't really do nothing. I just kind of went like this to him, with a kilo with a spoon. We cool, but the refs wouldn't know. So, like I said, it's just one of those situations I got to avoid.
Calling all football enthusiasts. Immerse yourself in the captivating world of the Steelers at the new Steelers Hall of Honor Museum located inside Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of history where interactive videos, music, and engaging exhibits await. Feel the thrill of the broadcast booth as you make your mark on a historic Steelers play call. Plus, get up close to the iconic Super Bowl rings, game-worn uniforms, and priceless artifacts. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
On the offensive side of the ball, man, it's about those 2 guys in the backfield that have kind of been together for a long time, probably since they were about 18. Talking about Trevor Lawrence, man, and Etienne. Man, they're a challenging group. Etienne, obviously, with his explosive run ability, his ability to hit the gas, particularly on the perimeter, and get yards in chunks. And Trevor's not only his arms, but his legs and the ways that they utilize the talents of both.
All right, that's Mike Tomlin talking about what is a formidable assignment coming at you with Jacksonville winners of 4 in a row. And Missy, the thing about them is they've been all over the place. Twice in London, no bye weeks. They've had 4 wins in a row despite playing all these games in really less than 3 weeks. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and the 4-game winning streak has happened in 4 different stadiums too, 2 continents. I mean, it's crazy, but they're probably a little more well rested now coming off of a Thursday night game. So they had this past weekend. But I think, in terms of Trevor Lawrence, he's taking care of the football. That's key for really any offense. But as Coach was saying, being able to use his legs, and then with ETN, just, he works good on the goal line, high volume. So definitely something in terms of the Steelers. They saw against the Rams, they were down their two basically starting running backs. Some guys came in. Darrell Henderson just rejoined the team 5 days prior. And they were able to have some explosive runs on that. So that's something that the Steelers, I feel like, has been nagging that defense pretty much all season.
Yeah, all but 1 week, other teams have rushed for over 100 yards. And you would think with ETN, given what the Rams did, that's going to be a big point of interest for the Steelers to make sure that does not happen. But a guy like Christian Kirk, you look at the speed there, they got some wide receivers. They brought in Calvin Ridley. Evan Ingram at tight end is real good. They have playmakers at a lot of different positions, so I think that's going to make it very difficult for the Steeler defense. But they've seen a lot of good offenses already, so it's right up there with some of the others they've seen.
Yeah, and I think, we talked about the fourth quarter and how the offense for the Steelers was able to get going. Well, the defense also helped them a lot, too. Matthew Stafford, his stats from the first 3 quarters to the fourth quarter, those were night and day as well. So they were able to hamper down as well and put an end to that. So hopefully this is, you're going home. You have 3 games there. Could be a big day for the Steelers defense as well.
Yeah, and the Steelers offense, they got to worry about a disruptive group. And Mike Tomlin is very complimentary, and he should be with some of these guys we're talking about here. Everybody talks about Josh Allen in Buffalo, but the Josh Allen in Jacksonville has been very good. He's putting in numbers that are almost similar to T.J. Watt statistically.
Yeah, and I think, just their entire front, Coach just kept calling them the big guys, the big-ins, as he likes to say. Just something for the Steelers' offensive line. We've, already gone over just how much better they played in the fourth quarter than throughout the game in L.A. So hopefully it's something where Dan Moore came back from injury, from missing a game, the continuity, having another week, keeping everybody healthy. Hopefully that helps them as well on Sunday at Acrisure.
And they got a James Ferrier type of inside linebacker in Aluakon who just is around the ball all the time. And he pointed out a lot of these duos that they faced this year, but this guy is always around the football. And if it's not tackling, it's making plays, as he did last week with a pick 6 in the New Orleans win.
Yeah, and you mentioned, going against a lot of different teams, Fred Warner, Patrick Queen, Roquan Smith. There's so many different guys, too, that the Steelers have already faced, but definitely somebody in terms of the offense that they'll have to pay attention to.
And how do you have 10 interceptions through 6 games, but could have had 17? They dropped a lot. That's a ridiculous number, isn't it?
It's just a lot that they actually had, but the fact that they could have had more is nuts.
Which is why, not making mistakes are going to be key. The Steelers, one of the reasons why, even though their offensive numbers don't necessarily are compatible with being a 4-2 football team, they are a +6. That's a key to this. They have to take the ball away and not give it away, and we'll see how that happens on Sunday. We'll take a break, come back with more. This is the Mike Tomlin press conference. We'll do it again actually next Monday. It's an earlier day for that one because of a short week, but every Tuesday normally right here on Steeler Digital Platforms and KDK+.
Experience the legacy of the Steelers like never before. Step into the Steelers Hall of Honor Museum at Acrisure Stadium. Explore over 10,000 square feet of Steelers history, rare artifacts, and interactive exhibits. Plan your visit today at Steelers.com/museum.
Kenny, the big third down Deontay at the start of the fourth quarter, how much of that was he was open and how much was you just wanting to give him a chance to make a play?
I think it was both. They were in man. I feel like, it was a really good route for him. He's a great route runner, gets separation. Just want to give him a chance to convert on third down. It was great to have him back. I think you saw the effects it had, having him and George out there on both sides and kind of moving guys inside and out. They're 2 tough guys that cover.
What kind of a groove did you feel like you guys went in that fourth quarter, those 2 drives?
Playing the type of football we want to play. That's what we've been working towards, and I think the run game balanced the pass game really well. It was kind of everything that we've been working towards. You started to see it in that fourth quarter there. It was good to see.
Kenny, we've seen this all year where you've struggled a little bit for 3 quarters and then are outstanding in the fourth. Can you explain that? Is there
just playing football, man. I mean, it's not going to be smooth all the time. They got a pretty good defense. They were getting after us a little bit, in the past game. Getting some hits, and I was trying to get the ball as fast as I could. But, I think it just, over time, wearing down in the run game, helped the pass game out. We got to keep having that balance.
What do you think of your offensive line's job against Aaron Donald?
They did a great job. Great job. We had a goal of not letting him wreck the game. Trying to do everything we can of sliding guys and doubling him, getting forehands on him as many times as possible, if not, all the time. So that was a goal of ours. I think those guys did an unbelievable job.
Is that the same way with the first three guys you faced, Crosby and Bosa?
We have some experience in it. We've played some pretty good pass rushers, man. It doesn't get easier. We go against, I think, the best every day in practice. So it's good to have 90 on our side to help us give those looks of what we should do and how we should plan when you're going against guys that can wreck the game and can change the game as a pass rusher.
You mentioned TJ. How about the play he made to start the second half?
Sparked us.
Started the game?
Yeah, just does what he does, and he always says it takes one play to spark it. And majority of the time it's him making the plays, and hell of a leader, hell of a player, got us going. Glad we got in the end zone there. And then finished it out in the fourth quarter, staying on the field, which I was proud of. That was something that we didn't do earlier in the season. But it's being a 4-minute drill, finish on the field, and let our defense, kind of sit and relax on the sideline. That's what we wanted. So that was good.
Was there any doubt about the fourth down?
I was getting it. I was doing whatever I could to get it, put it that way.
Gear up with game day necessities at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline gear, jerseys, terrible towels, memorabilia, and custom exclusives directly from the team. You can also gear up online at shop.steelers.com.
I'll tell you this, similar in approach in terms of commitment. If you know either guy, what they're willing to do in preparation to tee up a performance, not only in the course of a game week, but I'm talking about over a course of a 12-month calendar, over the course of their careers, is unique. You don't get unique results by doing regular processes. Those two dudes have a commitment to preparation and the development of their games and the maintenance of their bodies and the preparation of their bodies that is unique.
Yeah, this week it's a Hall of Honor celebration, and James Harrison is part of the class of 2023. So Mike Tomlin has a unique perspective dealing with both of those guys, but I think that's a good answer. It's about preparation more than anything else. If you're willing to work and put preparation, I don't care what you do in your life, if you're prepared, normally you'll succeed. And those two guys take the preparation level way up high.
Yeah, and I think TJ, had the advantage of learning from his brother JJ growing up, and Derek as well. But when he came here as a rookie, James Harrison was still here. And even when he broke his single season sack record for the Steelers, Debo was in attendance, took video. He's screaming and flipping out. You're seeing the sky, not even TJ's sack. But after the game, TJ even said, he helped me out so much when I was a rookie. He didn't have to. Gave him a lot of credit for just, being a great example of carrying on this tradition of rough and tough Steelers outside linebackers. But it is a great class, as you said. Also, Aaron Smith, Ray Mansfield, and Jerry Mullins as well. So a special weekend. It's always really cool, especially for the fans in attendance, just to see the celebration and how loud it gets when they bring back guys like this, and rightfully so, to be inducted into the team's Hall of Honor.
Yeah, and I wonder about James Harrison with the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And I say that because I think if you look at his career, the way it started, he didn't start a game until his late 20s because he was being cut by different teams. He never really got that opportunity, and it took him a while. I kind of liken it, even though they're different positions, to Kurt Warner, how he had to go through the process, finally get the opportunity. So I think he's right on the edge there. I know he recently said he doesn't think he should be, but I think there's a case to be made for James Harrison.
I think that's very Debo to say that he probably shouldn't have been. But, yeah, it's one of those, Hallmark movies. It's proof that if you try and you don't give up, good things can happen.
Hallmark movies. Hey, Christmas ones are coming up. Are you a big fan?
Not really.
No, my wife is. I'm not necessarily, but I like the mood. Anyway, we're going to come back and wrap up this show right after this on KDK Plus and Steeler Digital platforms.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
How nice was it to have Deontay back?
Oh, it felt great. Of course, it's always good to have one of your teammates back.
You feel like this was a breakthrough game for the offense, George?
I don't want to say a breakthrough game. I'll probably just say we were super efficient, like we kind of want to be every game. to be honest.
What was the difference for you guys in the fourth quarter? In the fourth quarter, you had almost 200 yards of offense.
Yeah, like I was saying, the efficiency, just, executing the plays right on time. It just can't get no better than that when the guys all come together in the second half.
George, we've seen this from Kenny. He struggles for 3 quarters and then it's terrific in the fourth. What is it about him in the fourth quarter?
I wouldn't necessarily say, struggle. It's a game of football, a lot of pressure. They got a great, Aaron Donald's a great player. I just feel like he stayed composed and, did the same thing that he always does for real.
Mike Tomlin mentioned after the game about managing emotions and trying to walk that line. And he wants to say whoa instead of sick 'em, but how do you manage playing with an edge without getting flagged and for a costly penalty?
Yeah, I feel like, personally, just going out there, that's a game like this showed me like they're kind of looking for me for, try to mess up, and guys are antagonizing me more because today is the first day I've seen anything like that. Guys really just trying to get me out of the game or get under my skin deliberately, and it's, you know what I mean? So all I can really say, is just keep fighting hard. That's all you can do in football. Like you said, woe and sick 'em. All you can do is keep fighting hard.
What kind of things were they doing? What kind of things were they doing to antagonize you and get under your skin?
It really wasn't getting under my skin. It's just blatant stuff, like push me to the ground, stuff you kind of got to, not respond to, but, turn around and look, see who did what. You see what I mean? But just things like that.
What happened on your tonic powder? What did you do?
I didn't even do anything. Just guys, talking. It was kind of like, I'll put it in like a practice setting. Guys competing, talking all the time.
Boy, oh boy, this crowd is alive. Wow, touchdown Pittsburgh. This has got to be a moment to be shared with everybody. Great catch with another magic moment. And this crowd's going to bring it up.
All right, welcome back, everyone. The good news is that we're just now talking about injuries because there's not too many to talk about. Cole Holcomb hurt his knee in-game. Coach Tomlin said they'll have to watch him throughout the week on that one, but he was able to go back in and play. And then Anthony McFarland, who was a full participant last week, was not activated to the 53-man roster like Deontay Johnson, but still in that 21-day window. But Cam Hayward, no update. Coach did confirm that. I think that's the one that everybody's wanting to see. When can Cam come back to this lineup?
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is push him and have what happened maybe to Freiermuth and you re-aggravate something.
Right.
So he's too important to that team. Even though they're, one of the things they got to work on is stopping the run for the other team. We'll see how that goes this week because it's a good test with Jacksonville coming to town. And again, a reminder to you, we have the 84 Lumber Mike Tomlin show coming up on Steeler digital platforms as well as KDK TV on Saturday night, 11:35. We'll have the game for you at 1 o'clock. Pre-game, 11:30 a.m., 2 hours of post-game afterwards. Missy, it's always fun. Thanks.
You got it.
And for the entire staff here at Steelers.com and KDKA, I'm Bob Pompiani. Have a good week. We'll see you on Sunday at Acrisure Stadium.